Good evening, my dear students. You all warmly welcome for the part 2 introduction to counseling. Actually, in the first session, part 1, we have discussed about what is meant by counseling, and we try to define what is counseling, as well as then after we try to understand the main characteristic or key assumptions underpin in the said definitions. Basically, we can tell the characteristics or the very important consideration or a characteristic of the counseling process. Basically, we have discussed 11 assumptions which underpin in the counsel, the definitions given by the definitions given for the counseling. And then now let's discuss how does counseling help, because we know basically from counseling we try to enhance the client's awareness about the issue, and then after we try to counselor try to provide assistance to sort out the issue. So basically, the how does counseling help mean? Basically, how client will be benefited from this process will be discussed. Actually, this concept is diversity in central to the understanding of what counseling is about. Because basically, counseling takes different forms. Either it can be in individual counseling, group counseling, marriage counseling, family counseling. But anyhow, the basic understanding of counseling is a form of helping, that it's best to respect work with different clients' diverse needs and learning style. So basically, the main objective of counseling is to help in another one who required to sort out their issue, because we know clients they have diverse needs, and therefore, in order to cater these diverse needs, definitely counselor should help. So that the type of assistance required may be vary according to the client's diverse needs. So initially, counselor should understand what kind of assistance is required. Then after, should make necessary arrangement to give the service. Okay, because counseling is frontline service, as I told you earlier, because counseling is frontline service because it's readily available, as well as even though unfortunately we are not aware about this service, but there are many more agencies, volunteer persons or experts are always prefer to offer this service under a little cost or a free cost, etc. So therefore, that's why we are telling counseling is a frontline service. Counselors are not specialists in one single approach to therapy, because actually instead counselors need to be able to work with whoever walks through the door and make contact by phone or other means. That means sometimes physically the client will meet, sometimes not physically meet. So for some issues, counselors may invite the particular client to meet them physically. But for some instances, if the counselor thought that we can sort out this issue or we can implement this counseling process via telephone conversation, then it won't be a problem. But anyhow, sometimes, because let's say now if a person who is abroad, so we cannot invite them to come and physically meet us. So in that case, through any other online mode, we try to implement this process. So therefore, we cannot use the single approach. There are so many approaches can be used according to the client situation and the diverse need. So therefore, a counselor cannot tell I'm only provide counseling in physical mode or in online mode. You cannot tell like that. So it vary according to the client's needs and the situation where he or she is existing. So effective counselors are responsive and creative in determining the most helpful for each client. So actually, why we are using the word called effective mean, actually the meaning of the meaning of word effective is like if if we can sort out the issue as expected by the client, or if client derived a very satisfactory solution for his problem, for her problem, then we can tell that counsel is effective. Basically, if the ultimate goals of the clients have been met, let's say now client has already filed a case against divorce case has been filed. So, but even though he has filed a case, but his main intention is not to divorce, but to have a very peaceful life with his life partner. So therefore, the effective counselor mean always not encouraged to enter the marriage, but always, even though case was filed, but first we should know from the client what is his need. So if his need is to come both under one shelter, then we should take necessary arrangement. Okay, we can provide the information and assistance to reach their ultimate destination. So in that case, that counsel is effective. So if the given solution is feasible, practical, as well as if the final solution is practical and satisfactory for the client, then we can introduce that counsel as an effective counselor. So effective counselors are responsive quickly as well as very creative. When they generate new ideas, they are very creative in determining the most helpful for each client. They always think out of the box. They are not narrow-minded. They are not emotional as well. They are very foresight. කියන ඒගොල්ලෝ හරියට හැඟීම් වලට යටපත් වෙන්නේ හරි දූරදර්ශී. ඒ වගේම ඒගොල්ලෝ හරිම ජජ්මන්ටල් නෙමෙයි. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒගොල්ලෝ කාවත් ජජ් කරන්නේ නැහැ. කාටවත් පක්ෂපාතී වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඉක්මනට නිර්මාණශීලීව ගැටලුවට විසඳුම් හොයන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා කියන කාරණා. So therefore, being an effective counselor is very challengeable, but you can be a counselor. But being an effective challenger, if being an effective counselor is a really challengeable task. Okay, there are many ways in which counseling can help people to move on in their lives. Like, let's say there are many ways. Like, let's see how this counseling can help people. First one is insight, the acquisition of an understanding the origin and development of emotional difficulty. So basically, from counseling, a client can understand what is the origin and how his emotional difficulties have been developed. Like, let's say, because of the sudden demise of the loved person. So that is the origin of the emotional difficulty because of the sudden loss. Then like, let's say, after a certain period of time, he or she can understand how this emotional difficulty has been developed. I have suffered by thinking him for a long period of time and lead to an increased capacity to take rational control over feeling and action. Then actually, since the counseling provided education on the issue in a very systematic manner, you can understand where my difficulty has been originated, how it was developed, so how I was tempered, how they and finally increase capacity to take control, rational control. And actually then after you have identified, yes, I need rational control. මට තාර්කික පාලනයක් ජීවිතේට අවශ්‍යයි. මම මේ මගේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ගැන ගොඩාක් දුක් විඳලා තියෙනවා. And so therefore, I want to control my feelings and action. So that insight will be provided if you engage with counseling. At the initial stage of the counselor say, yeah, I can understand your issue. I feel that you have already suffered from this issue from a certain period of time. So likewise, insight is provided, insight of the problem. And then from where it is, from where this pain has developed and how last it was there. It means pain. So relating with other, becoming better, able to form and maintain meaningful and satisfying relationship with one another. So simply when you go for counseling, like let's say because sudden loss of your husband, sometimes you may thought that my whole world was destroyed. So therefore, you could not be able to have a very good relationship with your mother, with your father, with your siblings, with your children, etc. So therefore, once you went for a counseling, then you know that is the way of the life. One day the same thing will be happen for us as well. So then after this counseling help you to relating with other. So that means have a very good cooperation with them. Then the counselor has explained no, that is not the life. So this is the way of the life. Then you will start to have a very good relationship with the other people who are alive with you. ඔබ එක දැන්ට ජීවමානව ජීවත් වෙන මිනිස්සු එක්ක ජීවත් වෙන විදිහ ජීවත් වෙන්න ඔබට ආසාවක් ඇති කරනවා counseling කියන දේ. So then self-awareness. Becoming more aware of thoughts and feelings. Because I don't know whether you can remember at the initial stage I have told you, like counseling help you to understand your strength. strength and your weaknesses. So basically, it is all about self-awareness, because systematically, counselor will help us to know about yourself. That means self-awareness will be created. Self-awareness. Then you know from where you are strong, from where you are weak. So likewise, becoming more aware of thoughts and feelings that had been blocked off or denied, or developing a more accurate sense of how others perceived self. Simply then you know how, because of your strength, because of your weaknesses, then you can understand how others perceived about you. Then you know about yourself, because self-awareness means when you blow your steam to the counselor, then counselor try to interpret yourself, looking at your words, looking at your facial expression, looking at your feelings, behavior. He tried to interpret who you are. Then you systematically you know who you are. Then self-awareness is created. Then the other one is self-acceptance. Actually, this is somewhat a very, very important topic, like how counseling, how people will be benefited from counseling. Then self-acceptance. It says the development of positive attitude towards self. Then systematically, because of this process, I try to develop a positive attitude about myself. Then I know I am a very sensitive person, but I'm a very strong from this area because my counselor said, and I'm very weak in this area. Then you try to develop your positive attitudes towards you. මම මං ගැන හොඳ ආකල්ප ඇති කරගන්නවා. මම මාව පිළිගන්නවා. Then you try to develop positive attitudes towards self, and then inability and then you acknowledge. Then was marked by ability to acknowledge areas of experience that had been subject of self criticism and rejection. Then you know. Then not only that, you try to criticize yourself as well. You try to reject your bad qualities as well. I'm very, very too much sensitive person. So I criticize myself. I should not be like that. I should reject this quality in my life. If I do so, what will happen? Even though when I lose my loved one, I always suffering. It is not good for my health. It is not good for my mental healthiness. So likewise, once you know about yourself, actually, please do remember, my dear students, self-acceptance happen after self-awareness. So when you aware about yourself very well, then you try to accept yourself as it is. Then you know where you are weak. Then not only know being weak, but you try to systematically shift from dark area to light area. Then self-actualization or individuation. That means moving toward fulfilling potential or achieving integration. That means when you know about yourself very well, you strictly determined to go beyond your boundary. Then you try to reach the maximum place where you can go. Like let's say, because of your sudden loss of your life partner, you have decided not to. You actually are not interested to do your job anymore. But then after, once the council has explained this is a way of the life, but from today onwards, you have to stand by your own feet, and you have to do your responsibility as a mother, as a daughter, as a sibling, etc. Then after, what you do is you try to reach your optimal potential level. So then you strictly determine, yes, however, I'll go to the highest point in my career. So like it's called self-actualization. You will satisfy your self-actualization need. You try to reach your fullest potential level. It is really important. Okay. Then after enlightenment means assisting the client to arrive at a higher state of spiritual awakening. Not only that, then counselor said, you should enlighten your spiritual aspect as well. You should pray to your Lord. You should, spiritually, you should be very rich than before. So because spiritual life is somewhat very necessary for people to live peacefully, live in an harmonious way. So they will encourage you to go for, to add color from spiritual aspect as well. අපි කියන ආගම ධර්මයට යොමු වෙන්න අපිට ආරාධනා කරනවා කවුන්සිලර්. අපි කියන මේ ලෝකයේ මිනිසුන් අහිමි වීම කියන එක අපි ආදරය කරන අපෙන් වෙන්වීම කියන එක සාමාන්‍ය දෙයක්. නමුත් ඔබ ඔබගේ ආගමට අනුව වැඩි වැඩියෙන් ඔබ හෝ ඇය වෙනුවෙන් යාඥා කරන්න. ඔබගේ ආත්මයට සැනසීම ලැබෙන්නට යාඥා කරන්න. So since I'm a Catholic, we always try to pray for the soul of the person who always that means who separated from our life. Then problem solving, then finding a solution to a specific problem. Then you, because of this counsel, because your engagement in this counseling process, then you will acquire the problem solving skill. Because at the when you actually in the next session I will be teaching the counseling process. In that counseling process you can find out a solution to a specific problem, solution to a specific problem. And not only before finding a solution to the specific problem, you what you do is you try to attentively, you try to find out the important information of the issue. That means counselor is the person who initiate the counseling process, and try to attentive always. Then after active listening, so likewise problem solving skill also can be acquired with the support of the counselor once you engage with the counseling process. Simply the finding a solution to a specific problem that the client had not been able to resolve alone. Because then if you want to sort out a problem, then you will with the support of the other person, then you can successfully sort out your problem, acquiring general competency in the situation like problem solving. Then psychological education, because always counselors speak with you about how you think, how you feel, because everybody can see the behavior of the person. Behavior is visible. So therefore, only the observable behavior everybody can see. But when we talk about, when we deal with counselors, they will talk with you about the hidden part of human being, like the way we think, the way we think, the way we feel. That means psychological education also provided. Like let's say, ඔබ හිතන දේ ඔබට දැනෙන දේ ඔවුන් කියනවා. Enabling client to acquire ideas and techniques to understand and control behavior. Then because of that psychological education, you can control your behavior. ඔබ කෙනෙක් එක්ක arrogant විදියට හැසිරුණාම, තව කෙනෙකුට බයින්නාම, ඔබට counseling වලදී කියලා දෙනවා ඇයි ඔබ බැන්නේ? ඔබගේ මානසික සිදුවෙච්ච ක්‍රියාවලිය, ඔබේ හදවතේ සිදුවෙච්ච ක්‍රියාවලිය. ඒ පිළිබඳ අවබෝධය තියෙනකොට ඊළඟ දවසේ අපිට තරහ යනකොට අපි අර විදිහට arrogant විදිහට හැසිරෙන්නේ නැහැ. We try to control our emotion and thoughts. It's called psychological education. Then acquisition of social skills, learning and mastering social and interpersonal skills, because then you will learn how to deal with other people. Human skills will be developed. You know how you can present your problem, how you can discuss with the other people, and then maintaining eye contacts. Interpersonal skills like maintaining eye contacts, turn taking in conversation. ඔබට පාර යනකම් ඔබ සාකච්ඡාව කරන්නේ ඉගෙන ගන්නවානේ. කවුන්සලර් කියන දේ අහලා ඔබට කතා කරන්න වාර යනතුරු ඔබ ඉවසිල්ලෙන් බලාගෙන ඉන්නවා. assertiveness, self confidence, anger control. ඔබට එන තරහව පාලනය කරගන්නේ කොහොමද කියන කාරණාව you will be learn in a very systematic manner. Then cognitive change, like modifying or replacing irrational belief or maladaptive thoughts pattern associated with self-destructive behavior. කෙනෙක්ගේ අපි කියනවා කෙනෙක්ගේ හැසිරීම විනාශ කරන මහා අතාර්කික සිතුවිලි කියන දේවල් ඔබගේ ජීවිතේ ඉවත් වෙනවා. Because that you try to replacing your or changing your irrational belief, try to modify your irrational belief or maladaptive thoughts. ඒ කියන්නේ ගොඩක් කොට maladaptives කියන්නේ තනිත් අයට පිළිගන්නේ නැති සිතුවිලි සහ විශ්වාසයන් වලින් ඉවත් වෙන්න ඔබ දැනගන්න. මොකද මේ දේවල් බැරෑරුම්කම, මේ දේවල් ඔබගේ ජීවිතේ කොතරම් දුරට හානියකට ගෙනිච්චද කියන කවුන්සලර් පෙන්නනවා. අන්න ඔයගොල්ලෝ වැරදියට හිතපු නිසා සහ ඔබ අතාර්කික ලෙස හිතපු නිසා දෙයකට හරියට අනුගත වෙන්න තිබ්බ අකමැති සිතුවිල්ල නිසා ඔබගේ ජීවිතේ කොතරම් ruin වුණාද, කොච්චර ජීවිතේ වටිනා කාලයක් ඔබට අහිමි වුණාද කියලා පෙන්නනකොට, then what will happen, that cognition change happens in your life. It is really important because this cognitive change will change your behavior. Then if your behavior is positive, then you can have very good relationship with the other. Then behavioral change. Not only that, that cognitive change later on, as a result of this irrational belief, as a result of this change in this irrational belief, maladaptive thoughts, you will change your behavior. You try to modify or replace your maladaptive self-destructive behavior. ඔබ එතකොට අනිත් අයට ඉදිරිය හරි ප්‍රසන්න විදිහට හැසිරෙන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා. මොකද ඔබගේ සිතුවිලි හැඟීමුත් වෙනස් කරගෙන තියෙන ඉගෙන ගත්තා ඒ කවුන්සලින් process එකේදී. ඔබ කොහොමද ඒ අතාර්කික සිතුවිලිත් එක්ක ඔබගේ හැසිරීම ruined උනේ. ඒතකොට ඒ හරහා ඔබගේ හැඟීම් සහ සිතුවිලිත් වෙනස් කරගන්න ඉගෙන ගත්තා. ඒ වගේම චර්යාව වෙනස් කරගන්නත් ඉගෙන ගත්තා. Then systematic change. Introducing change into how social system, like simply, uh, um, like in how, not only that, because we know as a member of family, then you try to change your family as well. Your relation, that means when you go for a work, then after counseling, you try to systematically change your social system, like your workplace, your family, your peer group conversation, etc. Not only that, you empowerment. You will working on skill awareness and knowledge will enable the client to take control of their own life. Not only that, since you are acquiring different skills, since you have very good self-awareness, since you have a very good knowledge about cognitive process, behavioral process, then you can enable. Then you mean that client can take control of their own life. ඒකට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ හැසිරීමට බලපාන සිතුවිලි හැඟීම් කියන දේවල් සියල්ල පිළිබඳ මන අවබෝධයක් දැනුම කුසලතා තියෙන නිසා සම්පූර්ණ සමස්ත ජීවිතේම වෙනස් කරගන්න උඩ පිළිවන්කමක් තියෙනවා. Then restitutions, that means helping the client to make amends for previous destructive behavior. Not only that, if the previous destructive behavior can be amended, වෙනස් කරගන්නට පුළුවන්. And generatively and social action. Generativity and social action, that means inspiring in the person to desire and capacity to care for others, pass on knowledge, generativity, and contribute to the collective good through political engagement and community work. Not only that, when he become very aware about his cognitive aspect, behavioral aspect, when he has empowered, then he can be a very supportive person and person in this community. He can help other people. He can engage with different community activities. Sometimes he can be a counselor, even though he was act as a client in a very recent time. But from that point onwards, they can act as a counselor to heal the other people's world. To give give a happy pill to the other people's pain. So counseling should be flexible enough to allow the client to use the therapeutic relationship to explore whatever dimension of life is most relevant to their well-being. Okay. Actually, I'm not going to deeply discuss about what is mean by counseling and psychotherapy. Actually, counseling is somewhat a very simple than psychotherapy. Psychotherapy is somewhat a very broad. We actually simply we can take it as a separate course as well. The argument here is that although there is a certain amount of overlap between the theories, methods of counsel and psychotherapists, because psychotherapists and counselors, both of them have used same theories and same methods. But anyhow, the type of client that they see, there is a nevertheless a fundamental difference between the two. With psychotherapy, simply in terms of the type of clients, even though they in these same two areas like counseling and psychotherapy, even though both using the same theories and methods, but in terms of type of clients, both are different. The fundamental difference between the two, with the psychotherapy representing a deeper and more fundamental level of work. Like let's say psychotherapy representing a deep and fundamental level of work over a more extended period, usually with more disturbed client. So basically, when we compare psychotherapy with counseling, actually psychotherapy highly deal with disturbed client, very disturbed client than counseling. Like sometimes more fundamental level of work from simple level, they have started this process, and like the psychotherapy for psychotherapy, they take more time, very long period of time to treat the client because they are very disturbed, as well as at the same time this process is very deep and very long when compared with the counseling. And then counselors and psychotherapists work similarly using identical approaches and techniques, as I told you, because they are using the same theories, methods, approaches and techniques, but still they must use different titles in response to the demand of the agencies that employ them. But even though they are using same approaches, same techniques, same theories and methods, but in order to attract the different clients, because when compared with psychotherapy with counseling, it's somewhat very deep and more long period of time it's sustained, and with dealing with more disturbed clients than counseling. So still they must use different titles to get the demand from the different client groups. So, for example, traditionally, psychotherapy has been used in medical settings such as psychiatric unit, and counseling is the designation for people working in educational settings such as student counseling cells. So, basically, counseling is the designation for people working in an educational setting. But if you are dealing with like in a medical setting, then psychiatric units are used by psychotherapists, not the counselor. So, like in terms of the type of clients, it vary. Like because at the same time, psychotherapy deals with medical setting, and counseling deals with educational setting, as well as psychotherapy represent more deep and fundamental level of work, but counseling is not representing a very deep and no need to go with very fundamental level of work, but psychotherapy deals with more disturbed clients, but counseling is not like that much needed. So likewise, from this small description, you can draw some kind of difference between these two in terms of the setting. Medical setting and educational setting, it is the first difference. Then in terms of type of clients, psychotherapy deal with more disturbed clients, counseling deal with not like that type of clients, and psychotherapy is very representing a deep and fundamental level of work, but counseling is not representing a very deeper, but it is not necessary to do work with more fundamental level of work. Like for psychotherapy, the time period required to heal the disturbed client is very long, but counseling is not that much needed because since they are not dealing with disturbed client. Okay. At the same time, yes, when we are dealing with, before where can I find a counselor? So I'll show you some videos like small video which shows how we can build a successful counseling session. Because actually, still we are not aware about the counseling process, because counseling process will be discussed in the next week under the counseling skills. Because in that day, I will show you some how we can conduct a counseling session. That means practical example will be shown. The conversation happening in between counselor and client will be shown to you. Then you can understand, even after we are studying this process, how it could be, will be understand. So this video is on how we can build a successful counseling
My Mind YouTube channel එකත් එක්ක. ඉතින් අපි අපේ පළවෙනි වීඩියෝ එකනොත් කිව්වා කවුන්සලින් ගැන එහෙම නැත්නම් උපදේශනය ගැන බොහෝමයක් න්‍යායාත්මක කරුණු තිබුණත් ප්‍රායෝගික කරුණු බොහෝමයක් නමතින.
Please remember, my dear student, this video is in Sinhala. So don't worry about it. I believe we can understand. So basically, she will be discussed how we can make a successful counseling session. So you will be responsible to write down the important aspect. That means what she is discussing here. Okay, I believe not only watching this video, but I believe that you will note down what the important points that she will be highlighted under how we can have a very successful session.
නිසා අපේ channel එකෙන් ඔබ වෙත සමීප කරන්න අපි උත්සාහ කරන්නේ ප්‍රායෝගික කරුණේ කියන එක. ඉතින් කවුන්සලින් එහෙම නැත්නම් උපදේශනය ගැන දිගට කතා කරගෙන යන්න කලින් උපදේශනය කියලා කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා අපි දැනගන්න ඕනනේ. උපදේශනය කියන වචනය ගත්තොත් වචනාර්ථයෙන්ම උපදෙස් දෙනවා යන්න කියවෙනවා. ඉතින් ඇත්තටම ඔබට හිතෙනවා ඇති උපදේශනය කියලා කියන්නේ උපදෙස් දෙන එකමද කියලා. නෑ, උපදේශනය කියලා කියන්නේ උපදෙස් දෙන එකවත් එහෙම නැතිනම් අවවාද කරන එකවත් නෙවෙයි. තමා ළඟට පැමිණෙන සේවාලාභියාගේ ගැටලුවලට විසඳුම් දෙන්න මඟ පෙන්වීමක්. එහෙම නැත්නම් සේවාලාභියාගේ මනස විවෘත කිරීමක් තමයි උපදේශනය හරහා සිදුවන්නේ. ඉතින් උපදේශනයේදී සාර්ථකව උපදේශන සැසියක් කිරීමට නම් උපදේශකවරියක් හෝ උපදේශකවරයෙකු සතුව මෙන්න මේ කියන කරුණු කාරණා අඩංගු වෙන්න ඕනේ. මුලින්ම තමයි ඔබ හොඳින් ඇහුම්කන් දෙන්නෙකු විය යුතුමයි. මොකද ඔබට ඔබේ හිතින් අවංකව හදවතින්ම ඇහුම්කන් දීමේ හැකියාවක් නැතිනම් කවදාවත් ප්‍රදේශනය කියන ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨයට ඔබ සුදුසු වන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා හොඳින් නැහුම්කන් දීම උපදේශකවරයෙකුගේ තියෙන ප්‍රධානතම සහ වැදගත්ම ගුණාංගයක්. ඒත් එක්කම මම මේ කියන්න යන කරුණු කාරණා 4 පිළිබඳවත් ඔබේ අවධානය කවුන්සලින් සැසියක් ආරම්භයේ සිටම අවසානය දක්වාම අවධානය යොමු කරන්න සිදු වෙනවා. එකක් තමයි පුනරුච්චාරණය. අපි කියනවා රිෆ්ලෙක්ෂන් කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ කවුන්සලින් සැසිය ආරම්භයේ සිට සේවාලාභියා තමන් සමග පවසන දේ නැවත නැවත සේවාලාභියාට මතක් කර දීම. එහෙම නැත්නම් නැවත නැවත සේවාලාභියා පැවසූ දේ පැවසීම පුනරුච්චාරණය කියලා අපි හඳුන්වනවා. ඊළඟට ක්ලැරිෆිකේෂන් හැඟීම් හඳුනා ගැනීම. සේවාලාභියා පවසන දේෙන් සේවාලාභියාගේ හැඟීමට යම් වටිනාකමක් දෙන්නට ඔබ සිදු වෙනවා. උදාහරණයක් වශයෙන් සේවාලාභියා පවසනවා මම දැන් මගේ වයිෆ් එක්ක පුදුම තරහක් තියෙනවා. මට යාව දකිද්දිත් තරහයි. මම ළඟදි දවසක යාගේ ෆෝන් එකේ SMS එකක් දැක්කා. එයාට වෙන කවුරුහරි මැසේජ් එකක් කියලා තියෙනවා. මම එයාට ආදරෙයි කියලා. ඒක දැකපු දවසේ ඉඳලා මට එයා ගැන ලොකු තරහක් තියෙනවා. ඇයි එයා මට එහෙම කරේ? මෙහෙම කිව්වොත් උපදේශකවරයෙක් විදියට ඔබ දක්වන ප්‍රතිචාරය කොයි විදියට විය යුතුද? ඔව් මට තේරෙනවා. එයාගේ බිරිඳ ඒ වගේ දෙයක් කරයි කියලා එයා කවදාවත් හිතන්නේ නැතුව ඇති. එයා බිරිඳට ගොඩක් ආදරෙන් ඉඳපු නිසා මේ වගේ දෙයක් දැක්කම ඔබට ගොඩක් දුක හිතෙන්නේ නැති, තරහ යන්නේ නැති. මෙන්න මේ විදිහට ඔහුගේ හැඟීමට වටිනාකමක් එහෙම නැතිනම් මේ හැඟීම හඳුනාගත් බවට උපදේශකවරයා ඊළඟ කාරණාව ඉදිරිපත් කළ යුතු වෙනවා. ඊළඟ එක open questions විවෘත ප්‍රශ්න ඇසීම. ඔබ කවුන්සලර් කෙනෙක් විදියට කොයි මොහොතකවත් ඇයි මොකද ඇයි එහෙම උනේ ඇයි එහෙම කළේ කියන ප්‍රශ්න කොයි වෙලාවකවත් ඇසීම සුදුසු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඔබ හැමතිස්සෙම උත්සාහ කරන්න ඕනේ විවෘත ප්‍රශ්න අහන්න. උදාහරණයක් විදියට ඇයි ඔයා දුකෙන් ඉන්නේ කියලා අහනවට වඩා මට පේනවා අද ඔයා දුකෙන් ඉන්නවා වගේ කියන එක කවුන්සලර් කෙනෙක්ට සුදුසුම ප්‍රශ්න ඇසීමේ ක්‍රමයක් වෙනවා. ඊළඟට සමරයිසින් කෙටි කර දැක්වීම නැත්නම් සාරාංශ කර දැක්වීම. සමස්ත කවුන්සලින් සැසියම අවසානයේදී අද අපි මෙන්න මේ දේවල් තමයි කතා කරේ කියලා සාරාංශයක් විදිහට කෙටියෙන් කතා කිරීම සමරයිසින් කියලා අපි කවුන්සලින් වලදී හඳුන්වනවා. මේ කතා කරපු කාරණා 4 ඉතාමත්ම වැදගත් වෙනවා කවුන්සලින් සෙෂන් එක ආරම්භයේ සිටම අවසානය දක්වාම. ඊට අමතරව සාර්ථක උපදේශකවරයෙක් වෙන්න මෙන්න මේ කියන කරුණු කාරණා ගැන ඔබේ අවධානය යොමු කරන්න ඕනේ. විශේෂයෙන්ම මම කිව්වා කවුන්සලර් කෙනෙක් විදියට හොඳින් නැහුම්කන් දීමේ හැකියාවක් ඔබ තුළ පැවතිය යුතුයි කියලා. එය හදවතින්ම විය යුතු දෙයක්. ඒ වගේම තමයි කිසිම අවස්ථාවක තමාගේ සේවාලාභියා සමග පෞද්ගලික හෝ ලිංගික හෝ කිසිම සම්බන්ධතාවයකට කවුන්සලර් කෙනෙක් නොයා යුතුයි. ඒ වගේම තමන්ගේ වගේම සේවාලාභියාගේ පෞද්ගලිකත්වයේ සීමාවන් දැනගෙන කවුන්සලින් සෙෂන් එක ඉදිරියට කරගෙන යාම වැදගත් වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම තමයි નિયમિત වේලාවක් ලබා දුන්නා නම් ඒ નિયમિત වේලාව තුලම ඔබ සැසිය අවසන් කිරීම ඉතාමත්ම වැදගත් වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම කවුන්සලර් කෙනෙක් විදියට ඔබගේ ඉරියව් ගැන පවා සැලකිලිමත් වීම ඉතාම වැදගත්. කවුන්සලින් සෙෂන් එකක් යන අතරතුර ඔබ ඔබේ දැස් සේවාලාභියාගෙන් ඉවතට ගැනීම නුසුදුසුයි. එහෙම නැතිනම් අයි කන්ටැක්ට් පවත්වා ගැනීම ඉතාමත් වැදගත් වෙනවා. ඒත් එක්කම සමහර විට ඔබ වාඩි වෙලා ඉන්න ඉරියව්ව වෙන්න පුළුවන්. අත් දෙක බැඳගෙන එහෙම නැත්නම් කකුලක් පිට කකුලක් දාගෙන ඉන්න එක කිසිසේත්ම සුදුසු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. හැමතිස්සෙම ඔබ ඍජුව දැස් සමග සම්බන්ධ වෙලා අසුන් ගත යුතු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම කවුන්සලින් සෙෂන් එකකදී අසුන් ගැනීම ගැන කතා කරපු නිසා මේකත් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම කතා කරන්න ඕනේ. ඔබ අසුන් ගැනීමේදී හැමතිස්සෙම උත්සාහ කරන්න ඕනේ එල් හැඩයකට ඉඳ ගන්න. එහෙම නැතිනම් සේවාලාභියා තමාගේ ඉදිරියෙන් සිටින්නේ නැහැ කොයි වෙලාවකවත්. හැම නිතරම මේ පැත්තෙන් හරි සේවාලාභියා ඉන්න වෙනවා. මොකද ඍජුවම සේවාලාභියා ඉඳගත්තොත් සේවාලාභියාට තමාගේ අදහස් ගැටලුව ඍජුව ප්‍රකාශ කරන්න යම් අපහසුතාවයක් එනවා. ඒ නිසා මෙන්න මේ ආකාරයට ඔබ සේවාලාභියා දෙස බලමින් කවුන්සලින් සැසිය ඉදිරියට කරගෙන යෑම වැදගත් වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම කවුන්සලින් සෙෂන් එකකදී verbal communication වගේම non-verbal communication ඉතාමත්ම වැදගත්. ඔබ දන්නවද සමීක්ෂණ වලින් හොයාගෙන තියෙනවා ප්‍රකාශිත දේට වඩා අප්‍රකාශිතව එහෙම නැත්නම් ඉරියව් වලින් බව ප්‍රකාශනයන්ගෙන් 80%ක්ම දේ ප්‍රකාශ වෙනවා කියලා. ඉතින් ඔබ සේවාලාභියාගේ ඉරියව්වෙන්, මූණේ ඉරියව්වෙන්, හැසිරෙන විලාසයෙන් මේ හැම දෙයකින්ම ඔහුව ඇයව තේරුම් ගැනීම තාමත්ම වැදගත්. මම මේ අදහස් කරන්නේ ඔබ කිසිසේත්ම සේවාලාභියා පිළිබඳව පූර්ව විනිශ්චයකට එහෙම නැත්නම් පූර්ව නිගමනයකට යා යුතුයි කියන එක නෙවෙයි. කොයි මොහොතකවත් අපි සේවාලාභියා පිළිබඳව පූර්ව විනිශ්චයකට යන්නේ නැහැ. මෙයා මෙහෙම වෙලා වෙන්නේ නැති. මෙයායත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධයක් තිබිලා වෙන්නේ නැති. මෙයායත් එක්ක කොහේ හරි යන්නේ නැති. මෙයා එහෙම කියන්නේ නැති යන ආදී වශයෙන් පූර්ව විනිශ්චයකට කොයි මොහොතකවත් අපි යොමු වෙන්නේ නැහැ. මෙන්න මේ කියන කරුණු කාරණා සාර්ථක උපදේශකවරයෙකුගේ ගුණාංග වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම තමයි ඔබ අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම එම්පැතිටික් වෙන්න ඕනේ. මොකක්ද මේ එම්පැති කියන්නේ? සේවාලාභියාගේ හැඟීම් ගැටලු ඔබට දැනුණා කියන එක සේවාලාභියාටත් දැනෙන්න ඕනේ. ඔහුට හෝ ඇයට දැනෙන්න ඕනේ මේ කවුන්සලර්ට මගේ හැඟීම තේරෙනවා. මම කියන දේ තේරෙනවා. මගේ විසඳුම් වලට යන්න මෙයාට උදව් කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියන හැඟීම සේවාලාභියාට යන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඔබ සේවාලාභියාගේ සපත්තුවට බහින්න ඕනේ. මෙන්න මේකයි එම්පැතිටික් කියලා කෙටියෙන්ම කියන්නේ. ඉතින් මේ පැවසූ කරුණු කාරණා ඔබ ඔබ අවධානය යොමු කළොත් ඔබට පුළුවන් සාර්ථක උපදේශකවරයෙක් එහෙම නැත්නම් සාර්ථක උපදේශකවරියක් වන්නට. වර්තමානයේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාව ගත්තොත් පාසල් අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමය තුලත් දැන් මෑතක ඉඳලා පාසල් උපදේශන වෘත්තිය ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. ඉතින් පාසල් උපදේශන ගුරුවරයෙක්, පාසල් උපදේශන ගුරුවරියක් වෙන්න පුළුවන් අපේ වීඩියෝ දෙන්න ආරම්භන්නේ. එහෙම නැත්නම් පෞද්ගලික අංශේ නැත්නම් රජයේ.
Okay. So in that video, actually, we have noted that there are many important tips have been discussed. So therefore, actually, I believe, as I requested from you earlier, I believe that you have noted down all the important information which was highlighted by her, that speaker. So specifically what she said what she said was, she said in order to have a very successful counseling session, what kind of prerequisites are needed. So initially, actually, once I'm watching that video, I have noted the very 11 important tips that she has highlighted in that small 10 minutes video. First one is, in order to have a very successful counseling session, we are required to listen to the client very properly. Here, active listening is really important. It is the first tip that she has highlighted. Active listening to the client properly. And then after reflection. Reflection means always reflect what he or he has said. Because through this reflection, let's say now, if client explained her emotions, then as a counselor, we should reflect what that means in return, a counselor should tell what she has understood from this emotional explanation. මම දැන් ඔබ කියපු දෙයි මම මේ දේ තේරුම් ගත්තා. ඒතර මම මේ තේරුම් ගත්ත දේ නිවැරදිද? Likewise, you have to reflect the thoughts or views that she has shared with you. Then you can ensure whether your understanding is correct or wrong. Then if your understanding is wrong, after you done the reflection, then she will recorrect it. දැන් මම මේ දේ නෙමෙයි කිව්වේ මම මේ දේ කියලා. Will tell if you reflect her words. In here, reflection means no need to use their words as it is. එයාගේ වචන මේ විදිහට පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. නමුත් ඔබ තේරුම් ගත්ත දේ ඔබ යාට කියවීම තුළ ඔබ තේරුම් ගත්ත දේ නිවැරදිද කියලා you can ensure. Then second one is, you have to give a value to their emotion. Okay, then let's say now, if she is very unhappy, the third important point what she has said is give a value to their emotion. then you should convince the other party that, yes, I understood it. I understood it. It is really important. I understood your emotion. Then ask open questions. Or ask not, don't ask why type of question. Always ask open-ended question. Don't ask closed-ended question. This is a fourth point. Then fifth point is summarizing. Okay, summarizing the entire, summarizing the whole story, what council has identified so far. So far, I have discussed that listening to the client properly, then reflection, second point. Third point is give a value to the emotion of the client. Fourth one is ask open-ended question and avoid asking why type of question. Then summarizing. Summarizing means summarizing the entire things what council has identified, noted or understood. Then next point is don't have unnecessary relationship with the client, like any other private or a sexual relationship should not be built between counselor and the client, because like you should know your boundary as a counselor. Then within that boundary, you should be able to deal with that client to satisfy or satisfy the diverse need of the client. Then the other one is finish the session in the due time. So if you have agreed to conduct the session like within 1 hour, then you should, as a counselor, you should be responsible to finish off that session within the stipulated period. Then that is the seventh one. Then eighth one is eye contacts. Then counselor should have a very good eye contacts, and counselor should clearly focus on the body language of the counselor, and at the same time the way of seating. It should be L-shaped seating, not direct seating is not appropriate. Why? Because then client will not reveal the very true and accurate information to you if you are very direct that to that person. So therefore, when you're sitting with the client, try to sit with L shape as well as eye contact. Then your body language, the counselor's body language, and is really critical. And verbal and non-verbal communication is important. So as a counselor, the ninth point is you should be able to note the verbal and non-verbal communication of the client. Okay, as per the speaker, what she said, like in the research, they found like 80% of the 80% of the information can be revealed, can be understood through the non-verbal communication, through the eye contacts or the facial expressions, body language will reveal like 80% of the real problem. Then 10th point is please don't go to prior judgment. Okay, please don't go to prior judgment. So as a person, you should not be judgmental. As a counselor, you should not be judgmental. You should be very focused on. Then last point, what she has highlighted is empathetic thinking. That means you should stand the client's position and think if it happens, how it feel to me. අපි යාගේ සැපත්තුවට බහලා කල්පනා කරනවා කියන්නේ. So in that small video, like even though it's 10 minutes video, but she has highlighted 11 important tips: listening properly to the client, then reflection, give a value to the emotion of the client, ask open-ended question and avoid why question, and summarizing the session when it is necessary. Don't have unnecessary relationship with the client. Finish the sessions in the due time. Maintaining eye contacts and having a very appropriate body language of the counsel is required. And seating arrangement should be L-shaped. And verbal and non-verbal communication is really important. Please don't go to prior judgments. And finally, the empathetic thinking should be happen from counselor's end. So actually, showing this video is somewhat very important for you. The things which is not in the handout will be clearly elaborated in those handouts or in those videos. So please try to Watch them carefully, and not only that, if you are an active learner, try to write down the important tips that speaker is telling to you. Where can I find a counselor? The next topic, the last two topic is the before last is where can I find a counselor? So several occupational titles refer that people are practicing counseling, like a term that sometimes used in the counseling psychology is counseling psychologist. Okay, this refers to a counselor who has initial training in psychology and whose work is informed explicitly by psychological methods and models. So several labels refer to counselors who work with particular client group. Example, mental health counselor, marriage or a couple counselor, bereavement counselor, or a student counselor. Actually, when I talk about myself, I'm a student counselor in the university. Then there are many types of counselors like mental health counselor, marriage counselor, bereavement. Bereavement mean when you lost a sudden lovely your loved one. Then when you want to get the support, that type of counselor known as bereavement counselor. These practitioners possess specialist training and expertise in their particular field. Like, let's say, marriage counselors are expertise in marriage, bereavement counselors are specialized in bereavement, and student counselors are specialized in student aspect. And actually, since they have very good training and professional qualification in the particular field and general counseling training, so they will specialized. There are also many instances where counseling is offered in a relationship primarily focused on other than counseling concern. For example, let's say a student may use a teacher as a person with whom it is safe to share worries and anxiety. Like sometimes for non-counseling, that people may not label as a counselor, but you believe that he can support you. So therefore, like for a student, teacher may be a counselor. A community nurse may sit home to give medical care to a patient who is critically ill, but find herself also providing emotional support for you. But normally, like community nurse, අපි එන midwife කියලා කියන්නේ එයා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපිට දෙන්නේ medical care for the newly born children or like children or infant. But sometimes that medical nurse act as a counselor. Why? Because sometimes she may providing emotional support for the newly like බබෙක්ව ඩිලිවර් කරපු අම්මා කෙනෙකුට එක්ක හස්බන්ඩ්ට ඒ අම්මගේ හස්බන්ඩ්ට අයට emotional support එකක් දෙනවා. In that case, even though she is a community nurse, but she will act as a counselor. So counseling is a practical in various settings and offered to multiple client groups. So the diversity of theory and practice can be attributed to the fact that counseling emerged and grew during the 20th century. I have explained it. After 20th century, like after industrial revolution, this counseling was really famous. So, and if you can actually counseling, psychology, sociology, that aspect was really developed after industrial revolution. So please go to lesson number 4 and Z under industrial psychology. I have discussed with you after industrial revolution how factories look like and how they understood the importance of psychology and counseling. I discussed with you. So likewise, after 20th century, in response to the mix of cultural, economic, and social forces, the importance of counseling has been emerged. Actually, there are counseling also has a place in the world of work. Various counseling agencies exist to help people through difficult dilemma, anxiety concerning in the workplace as well. Now, work counseling also there, workplace counseling. There are different agencies include vocational guidance, student counseling services, employee assistance program, or workplace counseling provided by extensive industry and public organization. I have seen many private sector agencies now they have vocational guidance or student counseling services and employee assistance program or workplace counseling provided by like public and industry and public organization because they have understood the importance of workplace counseling. And they believe that these people, when these work counselors are available in the organization context, it will really help for them to sort out their private and work-related issues. Okay, and finally, they can that work counselors can help to cope up with the stress and anxiety arising from work, coping with change, and making career decision. So that's why work counselors are really important for an organization, because they will teach people how they can cope up with stress, anxiety, which arisen from work or work environment. And finally, these work counselors help those people to cope in with change and making their career decision wisely. Why? Because having work counselors is important, because we know like 1/3 of the time of the day is spending at the workplace. So if the person is not happy with the work what she is doing or did in the day, then finally when they return home, they will have some kind of fight with their family members as well. Then again, it will negatively affect for their family members also. So therefore, sort out the issues which arise from the working context or other than the private life also will be addressed by these work counselors. work counselors ලා රැකියා ස්ථානයෙන් එන ප්‍රශ්න විතරක් නෙවෙයි පෞද්ගලික ප්‍රශ්න වලත් උත්තර සපයනවා. So several counseling agencies have evolved to meet the needs of people like who experience disturbing and sudden interruption of to their life development and social role. Like therefore, the counselors' work in these agencies can be seen as arising from social problem. So like, for example, changing social perception of marriage, redefinition of male and female roles, new marriage and family life pattern, and legislation making divorce more available represent significant social and cultural changes of the past century. So counseling provide a way of helping individuals negotiate this changing social landscape, because we know in recently like perception of marriage, because some people believe that marriage is not an essential requirement in their life. I have noted it. දැන් තියෙන ජෙනරේෂන් එක ගොඩක් හිතනවා හැමෝම බඳින්න ඕනේ නැහැ කියලා. ඒ වගේම මේගොල්ලෝ මේල් ඇන්ඩ් ෆීමේල් ලගේ රෝල් එක රීඩිෆයින් කරන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා. පීතෘමූලික නැහැ. හැමෝම පවුලක සමයි. අම්මලා ගෙදර ළමයි බලා ගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. අම්මලත් වැට යන්න ඕනේ. මේගොල්ලෝ සමානයි කියන එක අද they try to consider that male and female are at the same position. And new marriage and family life pattern. If the particular person is not happy with the current one, then divorce is the very good solution. Likewise, now current generation think like that. Now legislation making divorce more available. ඉක්මනට අපේ ලංකාවේ නම් තාමත් දික්කසාදේ කියන එක හරි අමාරුවෙන් ගන්න දෙයක්. ඒක it's a lengthy process and very hard. But සමහර රටවල් වල ඒක එහෙම නෙමෙයි. divorce එක ලේසියෙන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. If they wish to separate, then they can do it without any problem. So counseling අපේ ලංකාවේ දෙන්නම කැමති නම් පුළුවන් ඉතින්. නමුත් එක පාර්ශවයක් හරි විරුද්ධ නම් it's really hard to get. But counseling provides a way of helping individual to negotiate this changing social landscape. So, but counseling help us to go away from this negative perception. අපි කියන්නේ සමාජයට අර විරුද්ධව යන ආකල්ප වලින් මිදෙන්න අර අපි කියන්නේ උඩු අතර පීනන එක උඩුබිලි අතර පීනන එක නතර කරන්න පුළුවන්. ගංක උඩුබිලි අතර පීනන එක වගේ සමාජයට පටහැනි කාරණා තියෙනවා නම් ඒවට විරුද්ධව අපිට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් කවුන්සලර්ස්ලාට. ඒ හරහා පුළුවන් සමාජයට හරි පණිවිඩයක් ලබා දෙන්න. A further field of counseling activity lies in the area of addiction. Actually, there are many more like range of counseling approaches exist to help people with problem related to drugs and alcohol abuse, food addiction, and smoking. Likewise, දුම්පානයට අධික ලෙස ආහාර වලට සහ මත්ද්‍රව්‍ය වලට මත්පැන් වලට ඇබ්බැහි වෙලා ඉන්න අයටත් තියෙනවා පුතේ addiction psychology, addiction counseling තියෙනවා. And the social role of counselors can be seen particularly clearly in this type of work. In some areas of addiction counseling, such as with problematic drug users, counselors operate alongside powerful legal constraint and moral judgment. The possession and use of heroin, for example, is seen by most people as morally wrong, has been made a criminal offense. ඉතන heroin නගතවා ගැනීම කියලා කියන්නේ සදාචාර සම්පන්නව වැරදි. ඒ වගේම ඒක මරණීය දඬුවම් ලැබෙන වැරද්දක්. So the counselor working with heroin addicted, therefore, it's not merely exploring the way of living more satisfying and resourcefully, but is mediating between competitive social definition of what an acceptable way of living. සමාජය පිළිගන්නේ නැති තත්ත්වයක ඉන්න මිනිස්සුන්ව පිළිගන්න මට්ටමකට එන්න අපිට counseling උදව් කරනවා. In the field of addiction counseling, such as food, alcohol, cigarette, addiction counseling කියලා කියන්නේ මද්‍රව්‍ය විතරක් නෙමෙයි. සමහර අය අධික ආහාර වලට addict වෙලා තියෙන සමහර අධික තරබාරු අය යනවා පුතේ addiction counseling වලට. Cigarette abuse, the behavior in question is heavily reinforced by advertising paid for by the slimming drink and tobacco industry. The incidence of alcohol and smoking related diseases would be more effectively reduced by tax increase than by increasing the number of counselors. අපි ඇත්තටම මේ ලංකාවේ මේ ලෝකයේ මේ ඇඩික්ෂන්ස් අඩු කරන්න ඕන නම් විශේෂයෙන්ම මීඩියා එකේ තියෙන බලපෑම අඩු කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ වගේම සිගරට් විකුණන එක ටොබැකෝ ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එක ඒකේ ලොකු ටැක්ස් ප්‍රමාණයක් ලොකු ආදායමක් රටට ගලා එන. මිනිසුන්ගේ ජීවිත විනාශ කරලා. ඒතර ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපි වැඩි කරන්න ඕනේ මේ සල්ලි හොයන මේ වැරදි දේවල් වලින් සල්ලි හොයන දේවල් නෙමෙයි. මේ දේවල් කරන මිනිසුන්ව නීතිය රැහන්ට අසු කර ගන්නට අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ලංකාවේ ඔය සිගරට් විකිණීම කියන එක මම දන්නේ නැහැ. ඇයි එහෙම කරන්න කියලා දැන මිනිස්සුන්ව අමාරුයි දාන්නේ කියලා රජයට මොනතරම් ආදායමක් ලැබුණත් අපි ඒ නිසා ටැක්ස් ඉන්ක්‍රීස් කරන එක නෙමෙයි කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ ටැක්ස් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට කරන්නේ smoking related diseases would be more effectively reduced by tax increases. ඒ කියන්නේ එතනදි කියන ගොඩක් ටැක්ස් ඉන්ක්‍රීස් විකුණන ටැක්ස් එකක් ඉන්ක්‍රීස් කරන බොන මනුස්සයා කොහොමද බොන. ටැක්ස් එක ඉන්ක්‍රීස් කරනවා වගේම number of counselors මේ සර්විස් එකත් ලංකාව පුරා ලෝකෙ පුරා ප්‍රයත්න කරන්න කියලා කියනවා. So the significance of paying attention to the context, like simply appreciation that counseling is not merely a process of individual learning. Social activity, with the context, counselors are rarely managers or executives who hold power in colleges, business, and community. Like, in simply, often people turn to the counseling at a point of transition. Ministu counseling such as the transition from child to adult, married to divorce, addicted to straight, or when they are struggling to adapt to social institution. Within this context, counselors are rarely managers or executives who had power to colleagues, business, and community. අපි කියමු කෙනෙක්ට වෙනස් වෙන්න ඕන නම් දරුවෙක්ගේ මට්ටමින් වැඩිහිටියෙක් වෙන්න, විවාහක මට්ටමින් විවාහ වෙලා ඉන්න කෙනෙක් ඩිවෝර්ස් වෙන්න, ඇඩික්ට් වෙච්ච කෙනෙක් ඇඩික්ට් නැති තත්ත්වයටපත් වෙන්න. ඒතර මේ වගේ තත්ත්වයකදී මිනිස්සෙකුට උදව් කිරීමට counselors ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මම counselor කෙනෙක්ම ඕනේ නෑ. Sometimes we can get the support from managers or teachers or any other people who are responsible in the community. In conclusion, we can tell from the point of view of these users or clients, counselors can be understood as a relationship and a conversation space that enable problem in living to be explored and resolved. අපි කියන counseling කියන්නේ ඒ සම්බන්ධතාවය අපි තේරුම් අරගෙන there should be a conversational space and enable problem in living to be explored and resolved. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ ගැටලුව counselor සහ client අතර ඒ ප්‍රශ්නය හොඳින් ගවේෂණය කරලා විසඳන මට්ටමට යන්න ඕනේ. And counseling is a flexible form of helping that respect diversity and strive to understand issues from the client point of view. We should be able to understand the client's issue. Not only that, the counselor should be flexible always and would like to help and respect the diversity of the different clients' needs, rather than try to fit the client into prefixing existing diagnostic system. ඒ කියන්නේ එතනදී කියන්නේ counselorට ඕන solution එකට client ව තල්ලු කරන්න බෑ. අපි හොඳට client ගේ point of view එකෙන් ප්‍රශ්නය තේරුම් අරගෙන එයාට ගෞරවය කරන ගමන් එයාගේ තියෙන විවිධත්වයට විවිධ හැඟීම් වලට ගරු කරන ගමන් අපි තාමත් නම්‍යශීලීව උදව් කරන්න ඕනේ එයාගේ ප්‍රශ්නෙන් ගොඩ එන්න. So counseling at its best, counseling is front line. Counseling should be always available and it should be community based and service readily accessible to people who need it. අපි සමාජයේ අපි දන්නේ counseling දෙන ආයතනයක්වත් නොමිලේවත්. That awareness is not there. අපේ රටක් කවදාකවත් මාධ්‍යයක් ඒ වගේ වගකීමක් ඉටු කරනවා නම් මම දැකලා නැහැ. But please search whether is there any free any institution or agency which offer this service. Even though there are agencies, how we can trust on them. ඒ වගේ කෙනෙක්ගේ විශ්වාසය ගොඩනගිච්ච කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවාද? ඒ වගේ ප්‍රශ්න විසඳගත්ත කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද? Very difficult to find. So as a country, we should promote this service because counseling is necessary for an individual, for a group, for married couples, or any other people who are on this earth. So different type of forms of counseling, the importance of counseling, different agencies or individual who voluntarily give this service under free cost should be clearly explained, as well as that awareness should be disseminated among the Sri Lankans in the community. It's really important. Either online or offline, they can get this service. If the people are in a very remote areas, they cannot physically meet the counselors. But in that case, there are different. Actually, I have seen like mobile numbers are there, hotlines are there. you can talk, but that service should be promoted and should be encouraged, and especially those type of people should be encouraged to give this service. We should appreciate them. We should uh, like publish their volunteer behavior to the world, because every people on this earth are really having this need. Okay, so therefore in next week I'll be discussing the counseling skills, and before discussing counseling skills I will be discuss the counseling process in a very nutshell manner. Then after we'll discuss the co-counseling skills required for a successful counseling session. So that is the last topic what we are going to do under counseling, under this course. It's counseling skills. It's lesson number 15. In next week, I'll be discussed lesson number 15, counseling skills. So since we have already completed introduction to sociology, then socialization, social integration, society, I will be discussed exam focused question on these 4 areas: introduction to sociology, social integration, society, socialization in the next session. That means I'll be discussing the exam focused question on these 4 areas on 25th August. Then after I'll be discussing with you counseling skills. Lesson number 15, that is the last topic of this course. Then after, as the final session, I'll be discuss exam focused question on lesson number 14, that means today's lesson, introduction to counseling, and counseling lesson number 15, counseling skills. So actually we have only 3 days more. The next session is exam focused question, discussing exam focused question on lesson number 10, 11, 12, and 13. That means all are on sociology. Then the next session is on counseling skills, lesson number 15, and the final session is exam focused question on lesson number 14 and 15. That means exam focused question on counseling session. So I believe that you have understood to some extent, and in next week we'll be discuss the required counseling skills for a typical counselor, and counseling process will be discussed. And the last, okay. So in next week, I'll be discuss the common mistakes in counseling process as well. Common mistakes which commit in the counseling process as well. So that's all about today's lesson. Today's lesson means lesson number 14, introduction to counseling. So far we have discussed about so far we have discussed about let's see what we have discussed. Actually, so far we have discussed about what is meant by counseling. Then after we try to define what is meant by counseling, then we try to identify key assumptions required for counseling process. We have discussed 11 key assumptions which highlighted in the definitions of the counseling. Then after, how does counseling help? So considering like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 15 points have been already listed here. Why? How does counseling help? Those points are very, very important. Then we'll discuss what is the difference between counseling and psychology in a very simple manner. We did not compare both in a very detailed manner, but we have listed like 4 differences of these 2 territory. Then where can I find a counselor? Also discuss. There are different type of counselors like couple counselors, bereavement counselors, student counselors, mental health counselors. So since they are a specialist in the expert in their particular field, we can, according to your need, according to your issue, you can find a very good suitable person. Then finally, we'll be discussed like, finally, we have identified that addiction, the addiction counseling as well. Area of addiction, how the counseling play in the area of addiction in a very simple manner. So that's all about today's lesson. So please, my dear student, I have shared with you like 3 videos. At the introduction, I have shared 2. Then after, how to finally I have shown you how to build a successful counseling session. So I believe that you have that capacity to understand this lesson. And I have already, actually, I did not give you exam focus question on lesson number 14 and 15. We'll provide you as soon as possible. Like, I hope to send them tomorrow. If you have any questions, you can ask when we are discussing exam focus questions. So thank you very much for being with me, and have a nice day and good night all.